The world's most wanted man sings a new tune in his latest audio release. Osama bin Laden calls for relief and food security for Muslim nations battling natural disasters. A change of tactic or an attempt to capitalize on suffering. This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Sami Zaidan. Well, Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden has released a second audio recording in just 24 hours. Well, this time it is different. He's urging Muslims to tackle famine, flood relief and clean water, stark problems plaguing parts of the Islamic world. Well, he's also accusing Muslim nations, especially Arab leaders, of not doing enough to support relief efforts in Pakistan. He says the UN Secretary General seems to have done more himself. Mohammed Val has more.
A better life for Muslims. That appears to be the newest message from Osama bin Laden. Two audio recordings released this week, allegedly attributed to the Al-Qaeda leader, highlight the relationship Muslims should have with one another by increasing their cooperation. He mentions Pakistan after the most recent floods and where he is thought to be hiding as a good place to start.
Millions
of Muslims are suffering deeply and tens of thousands are facing death. It was necessary that relief efforts would have moved much faster from the very start of the catastrophe so that it matched the degree of the crisis, particularly from able countries like Turkey, Gulf nations and Malaysia. But unfortunately, up till this point, there has not been an adequate match between the level of this disaster and the relief it has received.
Bin Laden goes on to call for the founding of a unique Islamic relief body to deal with natural disasters. And he praises the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon for visiting Pakistan after the floods. Meanwhile, he lashes out at Muslim rulers for failing to do more for their Muslim brethren in distress.
The financial resources in the Arab Peninsula are the property of Muslims and Muslim oil belongs to Muslims. In reality, some people toil with it without having the right to do so, and money is spent where it should not be. And the oil is used without keeping track, despite the fact that many Muslims die, fall captive to floods, illnesses and lack of knowledge.
Bin Laden also expressed an interest in climate change and its negative effects worldwide. If authenticated, these messages prove a departure from Bin Laden's usual rants against the West. His supporters would see these audio clips as a confirmation of his dedication to the cause of global justice. For those trying to hunt him down, it's a reminder that he continues to operate without evident fear of capture. Mohammed Val, Al Jazeera.
Well, joining us now to discuss the issue are our guests in Islamabad, Hamid Mir, political commentator and security expert. In London, Phil Rees, an expert on Islamic movements and the author of Dining with Terrorists. Also in London, Abdel Bari Atwan, editor-in-chief of the Al-Quds Al-Arabi newspaper. Thanks so much for joining us. If I could start with Mr. Mir. Listening to the latest statement from bin Laden, is he softening his stance or trying to broaden his appeal?
I think Osama bin Laden is now confused because he is behaving like a politician. He is no more talking like a militant commander. He is no more talking like a jihadist. He is now trying to exploit some political issues and making political statements.
What's prompting his confusion then, Mr. Mir, if you could elaborate a little?
Yes, you see, he is confused that he should have issued this statement when floods were started in Pakistan 2 months ago. At that time, he never issued any statement. Adam Gadan, one of the spokespersons of Al-Qaeda, he was saying that the Pakistani Muslims should rise against their government. Then Dr. Ayman Zawahiri, he issued a statement and he said the Pakistani Muslims should rise against their government because this government has failed to rescue them. This government has failed to provide them relief. Now, after 2 months, when the flood water is going away and a lot of relief efforts have been started by the Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran, America, England and other countries across the world, all these countries are helping the Pakistani citizens. Now Osama bin Laden is trying to give an impression that the international community is not doing more. So he is confused.
All right, so
because
I see your point
is
that
different.
this call is coming a little late, but I want to bring in Abdelbari Atwan. Is this a sign of confusion or confidence on the part of Al-Qaeda and bin Laden?
It is a sign of confidence, actually. Osama bin
Not
Laden
confusion.
is in a stronger
give us your
position.
reasons why you disagree with the
not-
analysis then being given
I'll
by
give
Mr.
you.
Mir.
First, I would like to mention that the audio tape was issued at least 45 days ago. So it reached us now. If you look at the text of the message, which I got it here, he was congratulating Muslim words of Ramadan, the coming of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. So it means the message is very old, but to transfer it, actually, to make it available, it takes longer than expected. Simply it seems the man in a very, very remote area somewhere in the world which we don't know. He is not confused here. No, I believe he is very confident. He is talking not as a politician, but as an Islamic highest authority, as a caliphate. He changed his tone. He would like to present himself not as Osama bin Laden, who is a leader of Al-Qaeda, but a man who is caring about the Muslim world, who actually criticizing the Arab governments, the Muslim governments who did not help the Pakistani brothers. 25 million were affected by this flooding disaster, and I agree with him
Okay,
that
I'm
the
sorry. I want to bring
reaction
Mr. Mir.
actually
Sorry
of
to
the
interrupt
Muslim
you,
world was
Abdelbari, but I
not
want
good
to bring
enough.
in Mr. Mir once again in the discussion because I could see him shaking his head. Tell me why you disagree with that analysis. Apparently, he isn't doing too bad, according to the analysis there by Mr. Atwan.
So I think that Osama bin Laden is lying. He's saying that the Muslim nations, Muslim governments are not doing well. I think that the Saudi Arabian government, the Iranian government, the Turkish government, many Arab countries, including United Arab Emirates, they are doing excellent job for rescuing the Pakistani Muslims. I have been to all the flood areas. I have spent more than 6 weeks in the flood areas. I have seen the hospitals established by the Saudi government. I have seen hospitals established by the UAE government, by the Qatar government, the Bahrain government. All the Islamic countries are helping Pakistan. There are few exceptions, but overall, the Islamic countries, and especially the Western countries, including countries like Denmark, Germany, France, all the countries are helping Pakistani Muslims.
Right.
So that's why I think that this statement has become a joke in Pakistan, because it looks that he is not aware about the ground realities in Pakistan. He is hiding far away from the ground reality.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Rees and try and focus a little bit more on what this says about bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. What do you read into the timing of the release of this tape? We've had two in, 24 hours?
It's uncomfortable for many people in the West, but Osama bin Laden does offer an alternative narrative to world events that resonates with many, many Muslims. And this will resonate with many Pakistanis, perhaps not the elite, but they've suffered a great deal of hardship. They've got war in their country. They have no respect for their government at a grassroots level. And clearly the government failed initially, the Pakistani government.
Well,
to
will
act
they,
quick
Mr. Rees?
enough.
I mean, given the comments Mr. Mir was making about how it's coming so late, whether it's because of transmission delays or whatever, and he hasn't done anything himself to help the relief effort, will people sympathize with a simple audio message?
Ayman Zawahiri, Adam Gadan, the other people speak English. Ayman Zawahiri first made statements to the Pakistani people about 18 months ago. So they've been aware that, the primary language, obviously, apart from their home language, that Pakistanis can understand, is English. Clearly, I understand as well that this message was late. Now, the other thing that I've noticed recently is that I think bin Laden is constructing a coherent philosophy. Again, the West doesn't want to hear this. They want to think that he's a kind of mindless bomber. But basically, he does offer an alternative to what he considers the growth of market capitalism, neoliberalism, if you will, that developed in the West after 1979, 1980 with Reagan, with Thatcher. And he believes now that Islam offers a challenge to that, hence the importance of climate change. He believes that Western industry is responsible for that, Western industrial growth, which is going to destroy our planet. So that I think that he is tapping into something more fundamental, and that the only challenge to global market capitalism now, he would argue, comes from Islamism and comes from the possibility of a caliphate.
All right, Mr. Mir, do you agree with that? By broadening his message, maybe he can reel in more people who are, for one reason or another, dissatisfied with the, if we can call it, the international order?
I tell you one thing, that the people in Pakistan, they are not happy. They are very angry with these so-called Islamic militants, because when there was flood in Pakistan and our security forces were busy in the rescue operations, in the relief operations, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda militants, they started attacking our security forces from the behind. And they were not in a position to retaliate back because they were busy in the rescue operations. And they were conducting, on one side, our security forces were busy in the rescue operations, and on the other side, Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they were organizing suicide attacks against them. So that's why the Al-Qaeda and Taliban, they have lost massive support from the tribal areas, from the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa areas, which were the hub of their support. Now they have lost a lot of support in these areas, and maybe Osama bin Laden is trying to regain that support which he have lost in the flood water. I think that his support in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and the tribal areas is gone with the flood water. That's why he is trying now to exploit this flood issue. I tell you one thing, I have been to these areas,
let me
the people
bring
are
in
very,
Abdul
very
Bari
angry with
and ask
Al-Qaeda.
the question, Abdul Bari, how relevant is bin Laden to the global jihadi movement, which we're told has been fragmented by the confrontation with the US?
Sami, I would like to remind you that Al-Qaeda is expanding now. It is not shrinking. And Al-Qaeda is very strong. Taliban is very strong in Pakistan. Otherwise, Hamid Karzai wouldn't actually beg them to talk to him. This is one point. Second point, Al-Qaeda now is a recognized power. Sarkozy of France, he would like to talk to Al-Qaeda to see what their terms to release 5 of the French hostages who were abducted in the sub-African Sahara. Also, Spanish government, which is a Western government also, did talk to Al-Qaeda, did talk to Al-Qaeda organization or offshoot or branches in the sub-Sahara, and they gave Al-Qaeda a ransom between 5 million to 8 million euros to release 2 abducted Spanish citizens. So Al-Qaeda in Yemen is very strong. Al-Qaeda in Iraq is gaining ground
again. How about
in
Pakistan?
So Al-Qaeda
how
in
about
Somalia.
in Somalia?
In Pakistan, Pakistan is drifting toward being a failed state now, and we know that NATO forces are not doing very well in Afghanistan, and the American commanders are admitting that. So I believe Al-Qaeda is very confident now, and just a few days ago, the German intelligence service managed to intercept some communications, and actually they aborted attacks were prepared by Al-Qaeda against Germany and against Britain. Today, the American administration advised its citizens to be alerted because there is a possibility of Al-Qaeda attacks. So I can see Al-Qaeda is strong even in Pakistan itself.
All right,
so,
let's take that point.
I don't know.
Right, let's take some of these points now to Mr. Rees. Do you see this latest audio recording as a sign perhaps of bin Laden himself trying to take a more prominent operational role within Al-Qaeda, if we are to believe claims that he's kind of taken the operational backseat?
Well, I would perhaps not see it that way. I would see it as him trying to gain a more philosophical, more sort of doctrinal role. Now, I mean,
but only lately, I mean, we've heard reports that he was personally behind the plans to attack Western cities. Are the two not linked?
Well, I mean, I can't comment on that, and certainly I think that these are what the security services have been saying recently about these last, the rumors last week of plots. But my view is that actually he's not got any real hands-on control. And obviously, these other franchises around the world, they're acting very much on their own. Simple tasks, as one or two of their theoreticians have called them, the duty of Muslims who are angry to respond to the West in any form they can. They don't need the kind of command and control that one traditionally associates with militant and insurgent groups. Now, I'd also say this, that if you read bin Laden's statements over the years, they're very detailed, they're very complicated. They actually have a great deal of detail in them that the news media in the West never reports. The news media in the West never responds to what he actually says. They just drag out from him some of the most provocative statements about hating the West and so on, and then they say, oh, this is a madman who's trying to kill everyone in the West and should be treated in that way. I think if you look at the small print, if you look at all of the things he said over the years, it actually provides a coherent ideology, whether one agrees with his methods or not. I think you can actually find that within his writings.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the man and give us a bit of history. Osama bin Laden, of course, the world's most wanted man, yet remains a hero in some circles. But who is the man that in recent times is known only through his voice? Well, born in Saudi Arabia to a wealthy family, bin Laden fought against the Soviets in Afghanistan in the 1980s using his inherited wealth. Soon after his return, he was expelled from Saudi for alleged anti-government activities, following which he moved to Sudan. 5 years later, he returned to Afghanistan under the protection of the Taliban, and it is there he is believed to have created the now infamous Al-Qaeda. Well, in 1998, he issued his famous religious ruling declaring war against the US. 2 bomb attacks on US embassies in Tanzania and Kenya ensued. Though never taking responsibility, bin Laden was named the main suspect. But he became a household name after 9/11, where US government officials announced bin Laden and Al-Qaeda were the prime suspects. Well, he's believed to be hiding in the mountainous border area between Pakistan and Afghanistan, where he releases recorded messages. Most recent recordings only have his voice, though. Let's pick up on some of these points now with Mr. Mir. Do you think that the recent messages show that while, of course, Pakistan has always been important to Al-Qaeda, perhaps a renewed effort or push to kind of really focus on recruitment in Pakistan, perhaps even reversal of some of the misfortunes you were talking about?
First of all, I would like to comment on the statement or the claim made by Mr. Abdul Bari Atwan. He said that Al-Qaeda is very strong in Pakistan. He himself said that Osama bin Laden issued this recent statement 45 days ago, even before the month of Ramadan. So why, if this statement was recorded 45 days ago, why it is released after 6 weeks? What is the problem? What the reason is that he is hiding deep inside the mountains between the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan. His network is very weak these days. He don't have much human support in the border areas. Yes, there are some suicide attacks against the Pakistani security forces in the mosques and some and against some innocent citizens.
What about
but,
engagement?
Recently,
what Abdul Bari Atwan was talking about apparent indications of countries wanting to engage with the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda allies. How do you read that, Mr. Mir? Is that a sign of their resurgence in power?
You see, the Karzai government in Afghanistan is trying to start negotiations with Taliban, not with Al-Qaeda. I personally feel that the Western governments and the Arab governments, they must talk to Al-Qaeda leadership. But on the ground in Pakistan, I can only talk about Pakistan and Afghanistan because I have been to all these areas where Taliban and Al-Qaeda are fighting against the Western forces and fighting against the Pakistani forces. In last 1.5 years, Taliban and Al-Qaeda have lost massive support. There is no support for them because they are targeting mosques, they are killing innocent people. And why? The people are asking me a question because I have interviewed Osama bin Laden 3 times. The people ask me why, if Osama bin Laden is a great Islamic leader, why he is not issuing statements against those people who are targeting mosques, who are targeting people offering prayers, who are killing innocent children, innocent women. The people tell me that there is no difference between the American forces and the Al-Qaeda and Taliban, because Americans are killing innocents, Taliban are killing innocents, and Al-Qaeda is also killing innocents. That's why I don't think that Al-Qaeda and Taliban are have become stronger in Pakistani tribal areas. I would like to invite Mr. Abdul Bari Azwan come to Pakistan, and I will take him to the tribal area and talk to the common people, and they will tell him that they hate America and they hate Taliban and they hate Al-Qaeda.
All right, let's listen to your response, Abdul Bari Atwan, to that.
Well, actually, thank Mr. Mir for his invitation. Probably I will accept it, and I will go there, and it will be my pleasure to be my guide and to be my companion in that trip and to visit these areas. But if Al-Qaeda and Taliban are very weak, why the American, or unpopular, why the American, with more than 100,000 forces, they could not actually win the war against Taliban and Al-Qaeda, this war started about 9 years ago. Why, for example, Taliban until now is actually gaining a lot of success in their war against the American, and we had 72% of the American would like their troops to be pulled out completely from Afghanistan. Why the number of casualties among the American forces, among NATO forces, is escalating, and this year is more than the previous 7 years a lot together. So I think, we have to look at that situation from objective point of view. We shouldn't actually follow
let's
our
bring in
emotion
Mr. Rees.
here.
Perhaps he's got some of the answers to some of those many questions which are constantly being raised. Are we misreading things, or is there an attempt, is there a trend here to try and engage with Al-Qaeda and Pakistan and their allies, the Taliban?
Well, look, I mean, just going back to some of this discussion about, the popularity of bin Laden and in the tribal areas, I must admit, it's been about 18 months since I was last there. But let me say this, that he resonates much more with the average Pashtun people of that region, or indeed the people of Pakistan, than the Pakistani government or the Pakistani elite do, or the 200 or so families who've governed Pakistan, in the midst of dictatorship and phony democracy in recent years. So, I mean, I think there is an idea there which many people at ground level in Pakistan are very sympathetic towards, even if they do actually despise some of the methods of the Taliban and some of the bombings that have taken place there. So,
all right, but is that causing a real shift in policy making, thinking at least, towards how they deal with groups like Al-Qaeda?
Well, I think that it's taken a while for the acceptance, and it is now accepted, that there should be dialogue with the Taliban. When I met a Taliban commander 2 years ago, he said, you cannot separate Al-Qaeda from us. We are one. Our children have married each other. I mean, how can you actually separate one from the other? So I think that if there is going to be discussions with the Taliban, Al-Qaeda will be there whether the West like it or not. Now, I think that it's a problem to actually say, will we sit on a table with Osama bin Laden? But I think that these kind of things happen. I mean, the narrative of human history is that people who are vilified and considered subhuman end up taking part in negotiations when peace emerges. So while he may not be a prominent feature, I think that any negotiations that take place with the Taliban will have the Al-Qaeda leadership, will be part of that equation.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there because unfortunately we are out of time. Let's thank our guests in Islamabad, Hamid Mir, in London, Phil Rees and Abdul Bari Atwan. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Feel free to email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. For now, it's goodbye.